the future of policing might not involve cyborgs patrolling the streets, but rather silent algorithms shaping the narratives of law and order. A lone figure stands beneath a flickering streetlight in East Palo Alto. The hum of Silicon Valley's prosperity barely reaches this corner of the world. A young woman, her voice shaky, recounts a troubling event to Officer Wendy Venegas. But instead of the familiar scratch of a pen on paper, another sound fills the air, a soft beep from her body camera transmitting data to the cloud. Waiting on the other end is an AI tool called Draft One, ready to generate the police report. This isn't a scene from Black Mirror, it's the reality of 21st century policing. Drawing on insights from a collaboration between The Guardian, KQ, and the California Newsroom, today we examine the rise of AI-powered police reports. Are we witnessing a breakthrough in efficiency and objectivity, or are we stepping into a future where algorithms inherit the biases of their creators, turning justice into a calculated formula? Police reports, those dry bureaucratic documents, are far more than paperwork. They wield the power to shape perceptions, influence decisions, and ultimately determine the fate of individuals caught in the justice system. Legal scholar Andrew Ferguson calls them the building blocks of legal reality. But what happens when these building blocks are crafted not by human hands, guided by empathy and experience, but by the invisible hand of an algorithm, devoid of emotion, context, or judgment? Are we sacrificing the human touch for the rigid logic of a machine? Think about a time when you felt judged based on incomplete information. How might an algorithm make similar assumptions? East Palo Alto, a city in Silicon Valley's shadow, struggles with the harsh realities of economic disparity. Strapped for resources, its police department has turned to AI to alleviate some of the burden. Officers like Wendy Venegas, already grappling with long shifts and piles of paperwork, have found an unexpected ally in Draft One, an AI tool developed by Axon. It's like having a partner who handles the tedious stuff, Officer Venegas explains, her tone blending relief with hesitation. But like all quick fixes, this solution comes at a cost, raising deep concerns about bias, accountability, and the future of justice in an algorithm-driven world. The allure of AI is clear. It promises speed and efficiency, an irresistible offer for police departments overwhelmed by paperwork. Yet, while Draft One is celebrated for saving time, a recent study from the University of South Carolina casts doubt on its widespread impact. Their findings suggest that AI might not reduce report writing time as significantly as advertised. But the real issue goes beyond efficiency. It's about equity. AI systems like Draft One are trained on historical data, which may be riddled with bias. Imagine an algorithm trained on arrest records that disproportionately target marginalized communities. Instead of erasing bias, the algorithm risks perpetuating it, reinforcing a cycle of injustice that could erode trust in the system. In this digital cave, justice becomes distorted, shaped by flawed data rather than fair, present-day judgment. If an algorithm produces a factual report based on biased data, is it still truly factual? How does AI complicate our pursuit of truth in the legal system? Here's a troubling dilemma. If an AI-generated report leads to a wrongful arrest or conviction, who bears responsibility? The officer who relied on the algorithm? The developer who coded its logic? The data itself? This accountability paradox complicates how we assign blame in an era where machines are deeply embedded in decision-making. More worrisome, reliance on AI could erode human judgment. Faced with complex situations, officers may defer to the algorithm's objective account, sidestepping their responsibility to think critically. In this way, AI could echo Hannah Arendt's chilling concept of the banality of evil, where unthinking reliance on orders, whether from a superior or a machine, leads to disastrous outcomes. If you were a police officer, how would you balance the efficiency of AI with the need for human oversight? AI is not just reshaping how reports are written, it's also influencing how officers behave in the field. Knowing their every word and action is being recorded and processed by an algorithm, officers may become hyper-aware, tailoring their behavior for the digital audience that will assess their actions. This self-regulation mirrors Bentham's panopticon, where constant surveillance leads to conformity. While transparency might seem like a step forward, it can also create a performative dynamic. Officers may adjust their actions to fit the AI's narrative, crafting scenes that justify their behavior, rather than simply documenting the truth. Can an algorithm truly understand the nuances of human behavior, the complexities of motive, or the mitigating circumstances that might influence a judge's decision? In this way, the algorithm stops being a tool of objectivity and instead becomes a shield for self-preservation. As AI becomes more intertwined with law enforcement, we find ourselves at a critical crossroads. Will we leverage AI's potential to reduce bias and enhance transparency, or will we allow it to deepen existing inequalities and erode the foundations of our justice system? Moving forward, a balanced approach is essential. We need ethical frameworks to guide AI's role in policing, ensuring transparency and fairness. Independent review boards could audit these systems to detect and eliminate bias, and the development of explainable AI could help ensure the decision-making process is transparent and accountable. But most importantly, AI must remain a tool, not a replacement for human judgment. It can assist, but it cannot replicate the empathy, critical thinking, and pursuit of justice that only human beings can provide. Even with advanced AI, we cannot abdicate our responsibility to make ethical judgments. How do we cultivate critical thinking skills in a world increasingly reliant on algorithms? In the age of AI, the question is not just how we will police our streets, but how we will police the algorithms themselves. The future of justice depends on it. As we entrust more decisions to algorithms, are we risking a future where justice is reduced to a calculation? This episode draws on reporting from a collaboration between The Guardian, KQED, and the California Newsroom, as well as studies from the University of South Carolina. Further insights are informed by coverage from sources such as ProPublica, Vox, and The Atlantic. That's all for today's episode of the Deeper Thinking podcast.